Welcome you all to Believers as Academy, and in this today's video we will be discussing and understanding about the hydrogen coach in Indian Railways. So why is it a news? As we all know, the Indian Railways recently has planned to roll out 35 hydrogen powered trains under the Hydrogen for Heritage 2023 initiative. So, what is the hydrogen powered trains? Its benefits, the cost of developing this technology. I mean to say the challenges and the way forward. So, all of this is what we are going to be discussing in this today's particular video, and we'll also try and analyze the benefits, the advantages of transitioning to this particular model here, and also we have to understand primarily that this is India's major leap in order to achieve its national green hydrogen mission, wherein by 2030 it has set few goals, and in this particular video we will see what are all those, right? Moving forward, what is a hydrogen coach? So, just like in simple terms, it is that engine which utilizes hydrogen as its fuel cell rather than using diesel or electric engines. Simple. In simple way, it is that coach powered by hydrogen fuel cells instead of traditional diesel or electric engines. So now let's understand what hydrogen fuel cell actually is, right? So it is that fuel cell which utilizes hydrogen and oxygen which is present in the air in order to generate electricity, the power. And another advantage, the major advantage is the byproduct is just water vapor. So it makes it more eco-friendly. So now let's understand the process in very simple terms. So this is the anode and this is the cathode. So whenever a hydrogen molecule is introduced, there lies a membrane in between which does not allow the entire hydrogen molecule to pass through it. So in the reaction process, what happens? The hydrogen, once there will be a catalyst as well. So the hydrogen, when it hits the catalyst, right, it splits into hydrogen ions and electrons. So the hydrogen ions pass through the membrane. The membrane acts as a barrier which allows the hydrogen ions to pass through it, and this is the very stage where the electrons catches a different circuit, and this helps in electricity generation, and later this hydrogen ions combines with this electrons on the cathode side, and with the presence of the oxygen in the air, the byproduct is water vapor. So this is the simple understanding as to how the hydrogen fuel cell works. Of course, in a fully functioning vehicle, multiple hydrogen fuel cells are required in order to generate that kind of power for the vehicle to move, especially talking about trains. And we're not just talking about one hydrogen cell here. So there could be many hydrogen cell which could help, or let's say help build the power. So essentially this is the onboard electricity generating process, where with the help of the hydrogen molecule and with respect to the availability of oxygen which is there in the air, the electricity is generated. Okay, so coming back to this, so this particular part of the Indian Railways plan to deploy was to ensure that it makes the trains available on heritage and hill routes where electrification is either difficult or too costly. And one of the unique feature of this hydrogen coach is that it is very important to know this, that it is the engine capacity, the power is of 1200 horsepower, and it is also considered to be the world's most powerful hydrogen propulsion system for rail transport. Since we discussed about the Hydrogen for Heritage Initiative 2023, let's also try and look at what the particular initiative is all about. So, simple terms, we discussed that this hydrogen coach is to ensure that trains are available on the heritage and hill routes of India. So likewise, this heritage hydrogen for heritage initiative also tries to transform all the heritage rail routes, like the ones near Darjeeling Himalayan Railway, the Nilgiri Mountain Railway, Kalka Shimla Railway. So the agenda of this initiative is to ensure that this rail route, the journey, they want to turn it eco-friendly, into eco-friendly corridors. And in order to achieve this, hydrogen trains will replace, by replacing the currently present diesel locomotives. This paves way for the initiative to be successful. So ultimately, the aim of the initiative is to reduce emissions while preserving India's heritage train to tourism. So now, if you have understood how the hydrogen fuel cells function, the primary agenda is to ensure or to guarantee that we are transitioning to a more zero emission, or let's say zero emitting country, or let's say, to reduce the emissions while also trying to preserve the India's heritage train tourism. Now let's also look at the National Green Hydrogen Mission. So we also spoke about its ambitious targets, as to what it wants to achieve by 2030. So this program was launched in 2023. Very important to keep in mind. And the main agenda of this program is to ensure that India becomes the highest producing, the largest producing, country of green hydrogen by 2030. And what is the target? It is 5 million metric tons, right? And this is also another great initiative to ensure that India becomes a global hub for the production, usage, export of green hydrogen and its derivatives. So now, how is this initiative is going to be successful? So we have hydrogen trains as the initiating a program that could take this further. So India's broader strategy to decarbonize hard to abate sectors like heavy transport and industry. So hydrogen trains, by introducing hydrogen trains, India is trying to bring about that change in that sector, which is hard to even change, hard to even think of, to what, to decarbonize, like the heavy transport and the industries. And this is part of the National Green Hydrogen Mission. And also Indian air, this is also another important point to keep in mind. It is a personal agenda of Indian Railways, also personal target, that by 2030 it wants to achieve a net zero carbon emissions as well. So this particular initiative, the launch of the hydrogen coach, is to ensure that it caters to these two important targets of the government and also the railways. Now, what are the benefits of the hydrogen, fuel cell, or let's say moving into the hydrogen powered engines as an alternative to the regular ones? Of course, as obvious as it sounds, first is the zero emissions. Of course, it replaces the one, that the trains, especially the vehicles that was earlier run by, diesel fuel. So basically, this is one of the important thing to keep in mind, that it can cut emissions equal to annual carbon dioxide output of 400 cars. So which is a great change. And also, higher energy density. So hydrogen has 3 times. These are the important points you have to keep in mind. So these statements could be, like these sentences could be one of the statements in the prelims examination, that hydrogen has 3 times the energy density of diesel and is far superior to lithium ion batteries. So this is the one, lithium ion batteries are the one that we actually use in the electronic vehicles, right? So now, what is the difference between the hydrogen fuel cell, or let's say hydrogen engines, and then lithium ion batteries? So one simple fundamental difference you have to keep in mind, that in the electric vehicles, you're directly charging the lithium ion batteries. You're directly charging the lithium ion batteries through electricity, right? And then the engine runs. So here in the hydrogen fuel cell, you're utilizing the hydrogen in the air and the oxygen, and you're initiating a chemical reaction, okay, whose byproduct is hydrogen plus oxygen with a catalyst, and the byproduct is, let's say, electricity. Of course it's electrons plus water, that is water vapor. So this is the byproduct, that is the emission that it releases. And now this electricity that I'm talking about, which is the the reaction, the result of this chemical reaction, this gets stored in batteries. Getting it? So this reaction enables the battery to store the electricity, and through the batteries where the engine or let's say the vehicle utilizes the electricity. But here lithium ion battery simply mean to say that you charge this battery, for simple understanding. Okay, so I hope that point is clear. Now, fast refueling, unlike battery electric trains that require long charging times, hydrogen tanks can be refueled very quickly, and it also boosts to green economy, as we discussed the the importance of this initiative as a part of India's initiatives like the National Green Hydrogen Mission. These are all very important initiatives that you must keep in mind. So it in a way boosts the green economy of the country, and also it kind of helps the tourism and the heritage of the country, as you all know that the train let's say the initiative is mostly carried out, first introduced, or let's say trying to be introduced in the heritage and hill routes of where? Of Darjeeling, Himalayan Railway, Nilgiri Mountain. Now, if you see all these areas, they are very, tourist friendly. And this is another, great point that, it also enhances the tourist ecosystem, and also, can attract eco-conscious tourists also. So these are all some important terms that you have to keep in mind, the words. And yeah, so moving forward, we will also have to understand the challenges. If we know this particular initiative is so useful, it plans to bring about so many changes, but also it is very important to understand what are the challenges or the hindering factors to this particular initiative. So first and foremost thing is the green hydrogen itself. Now, what is the problem? That India right now we have something called as gray hydrogen, which we extract it from fossil fuels through a method called as steam methane reforming. But in order to produce the green hydrogen, the production happens through electrolysis, right? Using renewable energy, which is a very expensive process. Very expensive process, and it is a very limited process. So that is one of the biggest hurdle. And then comes the infrastructure bottleneck, the shortfalls that we have, because this particular electrolysis process, this particular production of green hydrogen requires large scale proton exchange membrane electrolyzer plants. So these are all important terms you have to keep in mind if you are making notes on this particular topic. All you have to do is challenges, write green hydrogen gap and gray hydrogen, which is abundantly available, which we are currently using, but green hydrogen is costly. Then infrastructure shortfall, these terms, because these terms, it could come in the UPSC prelims, right? So next thing is, of course, whenever we talk about the infrastructure shortfalls, it is about the refueling stations, much like how the similar challenges we had when discussing the electronic vehicle sector in the Indian economy. So it's the pretty much the same thing what we discuss here as well. Shortage, storage tanks. Now, storage tanks, in order to store the hydrogen, we need very high pressure tanks, right? So even that is also kind of very expensive, and in order to even maintenance, maintain the entire process, the plants, the electrolyzer plants, even the kind of skill required. So that is also one of the most important thing. The lack of skills in the country, in order to let's say inculcate, or in order to make sure that we are taking it full-fledged. So that is also another problem. Now, discussing of this, which are those examples, let's say worldwide, who have actually successfully done it. So the first one is Germany, which has actually in fact, Germany is the first country in the world to have implemented and currently utilizing this technology. And there are other nations also who are still trying. For example, South Korea, the process is still going on, the implementation is still yet to happen, they're still trying. So Yeah, this is also one important thing to keep in mind, Germany. And at the end, so what is the need of the hour, with respect to this initiative? So first one is to scale up the hydrogen, the green hydrogen production. So we have to, set up plants domestically, especially the electrolyzer manufacturing units. Okay, and especially through production linked incentive scheme. So now, what is production linked incentive scheme? That you give some incentive for someone, let's say a foreign investor, to come open a plant in India. And if he does so, there will be some incentive with respect to, let's say, some exemptions in tax, especially um, the tax that we talk, the tariffs, and also the setting up cost. There will be some subsidies, right? And also, above all, there will be incentives with respect to PLI scheme. Okay, very important. And then we should also focus on developing the infrastructure that can help store hydrogen. Public-private partnerships important, and we should also ensure that we run out few pilot projects. Start with heritage routes and gradually expand to freight and mainline passenger trains. Right, and these are all some of the important things that come about discussing about this topic. So, in this today's video, we have understood how a hydrogen fuel cell, engine functions. Of course, in brief. But what is the main agenda of this video or the topic is to know that India is trying to achieve its net zero emissions, carbon emissions by 2030, and it is trying its best to bring out so many changes. And as an aspirant, it is important to make sure that you keep a track of all of it, not just hydrogen fuel cell, as a concept, but how this is helping India to achieve the targets that it has set to itself, right? So anyway, that's all for today's video, and for more such informative content, please do subscribe to Believers IAS Academy YouTube channel. And signing off, this is Madan Gopal. Have a beautiful day.